And I think what's quite good, when I see Pakatan state leaders being criticized, but coming out and responding when it's necessary effectively, it's a good thing. I mean, no one is above criticism. There's no harm. The difference is criticism of those of the federal leaders is never carried in the mainstream press. So it actually speaks well of the opposition leaders if they are criticizing the press and they are able to take it and they are able to respond. Now, change is always difficult, and this process of change will take time. There's no doubt about that. But unfortunately, as I said, I don't think we have that much time. So I think we're going to have to make our impact even greater now. Now, one of the things that I do want to touch upon is, education. I can see that there are many programs, which I never realized, by the way, until I read this book, which is why your PR has to be a lot better. You have to, Trisha, you were saying someone said it's a PR exercise. What's wrong with the PR exercise? If you're communicating the truth, if you're telling people this is what you have achieved, that's a good thing. Now, there are education policies that I see that are being carried out. I know there's a lot of emphasis on youth, and I hope a lot of it is on empowering the youth, because it's not just enough help to assist with scholarships. It's also important to empower them. It's important to make them part of this process of change. I think the youth today are very disconnected from the old politics, squabbling politics, racial politics. They're not very interested. So you have to keep them interested. The other thing, if you recall, Tan you suggested within the six months of your coming into power that in fact 10% of your ITM should be reserved for non-Malays. Now, the outrage that created, and I think 5,000 students, UITM students, marched against what you said. Now, I was shocked by that, because in my time, 5,000 students would have marched in support of you. So I called a lecturer friend of mine and I said, what kind of students do we have? Who don't believe it. You know what George Bernard Shaw said, at 18 you're supposed to be socialist, and all that. What happened? What's happened to our youth? So I actually think, apart from just providing support systems in education, you may actually have to do something to mitigate what our education system is doing to our children's minds. I don't know what the answers are. We have to speak to education for that. But I think you have to mitigate some of the things that's going on in our schools. So not just have tuition centers and scholarships and so on, but there have to be activities that show that this way of thinking is an unacceptable way of thinking. Now, the other issue that I was very pleased to see was the Orang Asli issues. I think Elizabeth Wong takes credit for a lot of that. And the withdrawal of the Sabun Tassi case in the Orang Asli matter, that was a tremendous step forward, and I congratulate the Islamic State government for doing that. Now, Orang Asli issues, again, we need to look at that a little bit more carefully. Now, Orang Asli, we have a very paternalistic attitude towards Orang Asli. That is something that has to stop. We have to empower the Orang Asli. And I think the more you empower women. I see there are programs for women. If you empower them, you empower the Orang Asli, you empower the marginalized, then you will be there again in the next election. I have no doubt about that. And really, it's not just about doing charity for these groups. It's not about doing charity. That's not enough. I think empowering them is a very important thing. Now, I know my 10 minutes is nearly up, but can I end with this? Now, a couple of things actually. One is on interfaith dialogue. I think Jacqueline will deal with it more thoroughly, but I do not see why interfaith dialogue cannot take off in this country. I am actually horrified by that. The government has tried. I think it got stuck somewhere. I think they don't know what to call it. I mean, can you imagine it's stuck because they don't know what to call it? It's not happening. Although that was an announcement made by the cabinet, it's just not happening. Now, why can't it happen at state level? If you can start these processes at state level, interfaith dialogue between all religious groups, I think that is a huge step forward. I have to say that some of the issues that touch and concern religion, in my view, were not dealt with head-on. Sometimes because they sensitively withdraw from making declarations as to what is right. But I think really for good government and good governance, it is making the tough decisions that makes you good. And I think religion is an issue you have to deal with. You have to deal with it. There are too many problems in these areas. If you ask any Malaysian walking the streets today, what are the things that concern them the most, they will still probably say, of course, corruption. But I can tell you, religious issues will be right there at the top. And if the Selangor government is not doing anything to address those the religious issues, then I think that is a failure. Sorry. But that is something I feel that you must take on board and deal with it. It's not easy, it will never be easy. But if you can start the ball rolling, do what the federal government can't do, start an integrated dialogue, I think you will go very far. That's on integrated dialogue. And finally, if I can do a plug for Bersih 2.0, and by the way, I can vouch for the fact that the Selangor state government is very stingy with your money. Because Bersih 2.0 we tried to get money for our project. So I know we had to jump through hoops and hoops and hoops. I'm not complaining, Chancellor, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But we are actually, Bersih is looking, obviously, with the citizens' movement for free and fair elections. Now, we are going to have a launch on the 10th of November, by the way. It will be in the Kelana Stadium. Please, everybody is welcome. But we have a project in Selangor that we are handling, and this will be to empower the citizens, because the redelineation exercise is going to start from March next year. And that is key. Selangor state government better keep their eyes open on that one. It is key, and I think you have enough people who are looking at it. Because what they do is, that's where you can gerrymander by redrawing boundaries. And recently, in fact, the EC, someone in EC came out and said that, yes, we've been doing it, correcting mistakes by shifting people, but all that is unconstitutional in my view. So we are actually trying to empower the people to realize that they can participate in the redelineation exercises because they have a say. A lot of people don't know this, but you actually have a say in how your constituencies are drawn. I mean, whether they ultimately take your view is another thing, but you have a say. You can make a lot of noise. So I actually think that there must be publicity about this. And it's in Selangor's interest to do it, because a lot of gerrymandering took place in Selangor. We're going to launch a report next week, which is going to show how the redelineation in 2004, how it affected the election results. And you'll be quite surprised by the results of that survey. I think that's